I've got 7 o'clock, so it's time to get our show started.
Okay.
Welcome to the Wednesday Wind Down with Dan and Friends, the show for outdoors people that are frustrated. I like to hike and be outside. I like to drink beer. It's tough to do both of those right now during COVID-19. So I'm getting together with my friends, talking about the outdoors and drinking beer. So I'm Dan Conger, the host, and tonight I'm drinking Walker 805. And Yosina, would you like to introduce yourself and let us know if you have a beverage?
Yeah, hi, I'm Yosina Lisbeck, and I'm not as frustrated of a hiker and backpacker as I was on our last wind down that we had, because things have started to open up, and so I was very lucky to get some permits. So I've been able to get out. So that's been great. But I'm drinking a Ballast Point, and it's the new Aloha Sculpin IPA.
Ooh, I don't know that one. We'll have to
Right,
look that
it's
up.
Delicious. You're gonna have to try that one for sure.
Okay, wonderful. And Kit?
And I'm Kit Davis, and I'm not a frustrated hiker. Fortunately, in fact, I just went up to the lookout tower today at Takits. And so because of that, I'm holding off on my adult beverage, because if I have a beer after a day like that, I'm going to be face first. Don't want that.
Very
But
cool.
Yo and I, just to start this off, Yo and I are going to be doing, along with another friend of ours, are going to be doing an off-trail, about halfway off-trail trip starting on Saturday. So this is near and dear to our hearts.
So the timing on that is just perfect, and I didn't intend this, right? It just kind of worked out this way. So tonight we're going to be talking about off-trail travel and some things to watch out for, how you might ease into it, but then some of the doors that it opens, right? There's some wonderful things that you can do when you open your mind to off-trail travel. Now, I do a lot of off-trail travel for my day hikes, and a moderate to a small amount on my backpacks. But I realize it's not for everybody. I was leading a WBC group, and we went off trail for some of it in our local mountains, and I'm having a great time. I'm just like, this is fun. We're going through the bushes. We're beating our way through and finding it. And
look where we are.
Just about everybody had one. There was one person that was not digging it. They were not comfortable, not knowing exactly where they were. So, maybe we'll have some guidelines on where that is. So with that, Yosina, I'll turn it over to you, and you can share your screen and we'll show people what we got.
Yep, that's Mitre Basin trip that we did.
Yeah, as a trip. So Kit and I are off-trail backcountry travel partners. And I think that's one of the things that we can talk about first is you really should have a partner who you feel comfortable enough with to go exploring, right?
Yeah.
And somebody who you can bounce ideas off of. And so Kit and I work really well together. We have the same kind of demeanor and level of adventure. So it's been great. It's been really great. So this was our trip to Mitre Basin, and that was all off trail, and that was spectacular.
Yeah, it really was. Yeah, one of the things that that I looked for when I was looking for a hiking partner to do these things would be like how, we had done some things together. We have the same level of risk comfort, which is really good. Now, in a couple of things we don't, but for by and large we do. And then the other thing is just a sense of equanimity and a sense of humor when stuff doesn't go the way you think it's going to go, or flexibility for, how things change. And you can kind of tell in a potential hiking and climbing partner if that's going to be true, because if you have to change the start time for some reason, you can sense if you've upset someone. Mm-hmm. But anyway, so here we go. That was a fantastic trip. Let's get into it. So.
Okay, so kind of like, where do we get ideas about where to go when we're thinking about going on an off-trail trip? Kit, you go first.
Well, Yo and I work well together because we come from two different directions. I am a paper map and people person, just, long time. Doesn't mean I'm not comfortable with technology, but that's where I lean into first. I talk to people. What have you done? Where do you go? what do you wish you could do? Show me something that you think would be a dream for you. And then in addition, people talk to me, where have I gone? You know, what did I see that we couldn't quite get to, and that type of a thing. And the other thing is, I love to get those big giant Harrison maps and just lay them out.
Yeah.
So one of them was that's on our list, is one that I want to do, is going to the headwaters of the Kern. You eventually go up into the Lake Italy, that area, the Americas.
Okay. Yeah.
And it's a beast to get there. We tried it once and we got beat back by bad weather and fires, but still plan to do it. And all of that was from looking at the map going, I want to see that, this giant cirque of granite with all these little lakes in there. And that's where the start of all the water for, you know, most of the Central Valley comes from. So that, and Yosina.
And obviously I get ideas from Kit, and also the WBC is a great resource, and Sierra Club Friends, but I get a lot of ideas from Facebook. I'm on various Facebook pages, Eastern Sierra pages, Mount Whitney, San Diego Hiking Society, Modern Hiker. I mean, all these great hiking Facebook pages, and people will just post their trips. And some of them just fascinate me. They catch your eye. And so I'll contact them. I'll get more information. Dan saw a little bit of me doing that for this trip that Kit and I are going out on. We leave on Saturday. There's a big section that is off trail, and Kit and I have sat down with the map and looked at it. And Kit is familiar with the area, but I'm that computer person. I want that GPX route. And I know that, you know, people have been all over the Sierra, so it's got to exist. So if you put the word out there, somebody will help you. And so I was able to get a GPX route of this guy's route of what he took, and we may take a different route depending on when we get out there. But at least I have an idea of how it went, the elevation, a little bit of a digital picture to add to the map.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
by the way.
I said something at the beginning, and you said it again, is WBC. So that's how we all know each other, is through the Sierra Club's Wilderness Basics course that's designed to take somebody that can hike and walk and turn them into a backpacker over a course of 10 weeks. So you're local in LA and other regions. It's called the Wilderness Travel Course. Mm-hmm. We call it the Wilderness Basics course in San Diego, but as we're throwing out in acronyms, I'll try and catch those as we go. Mm-hmm.
And so we're all leaders, and so we've been there for several years now, and it's a fantastic course. Yep. Mm-hmm. All right.
Anyway, ideas. Ooh.
Considerations to take when you're gonna go off trail.
I don't see a trail there.
No.
Yeah.
There
was no trail.
Oh, okay.
There was just a whole bunch of boulders.
For scale, how big are those boulders?
Yeah, I tried to show the people in the picture on this one to give a little bit, but some of the boulders are as big as cars. Mm-hmm. And you have this 34-pound pack, and you're trying to weave your way. We got to get down to that lower lake. We got to navigate through all these boulders. You're scooting on your butt. You're, doing like these steps that you've never imagined. I can tell you by the end of this day, my legs were shot.
Yeah. Okay, just to kind of flesh that out, I'm not on that trip, but I have done that. That's Lamarck Cole, right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I was kind of wondering if that's what it was. Yeah.
Yeah, that's Lamarck Cole.
Okay, I recognize that.
Everybody's different. I'm looking at it going, oh my gosh, I just realized that's not Lamarck Cole. I approached it differently. I was down at the bottom of the lake and actually skirted the lakes all the way across around. Everybody does it differently. There's one thing I think that we need to mention here, and that's before you start any kind of backcountry travel, be very solid on your navigational skills. And we'll probably mention this toward the end, but you have to be very comfortable with reading a map and, taking what you see and, relating it to the map, whether the map is on your phone or it's a paper map or whatever.
Yeah, and that's probably a classic new hiker technique. They get on the trail, They act like it's a freeway, and it will take me to destination. Get on an X, it'll take me to destination Y. Well,
We call that the Disneyland syndrome. I paid
nice.
for my ticket. I get to take the ride.
Go entertain me.
Entertain me.
Now on this one, if you have some rudimentary math skills for this particular route, you could see the chain of lakes. You could pick the highest lake, and you need to get from, you're at A and you could get to B, the lake. That's actually pretty, while the terrain is tough, navigating there isn't particularly hard in this case. In this case, although I've been there and we cliffed out a couple of times.
Yeah.
Here's the other thing. It is true that if you have a GPX from someone that has been there and that you trust and you've heard how their trip went, you can go ahead and transfer that to your phone and follow it that way. But in terms of making up your own trip, as you're just kind of looking at something, this is just in the broad general, do we want to do this? So like when I was looking at the one that we're going to be doing this next weekend, we need to go over a pass. Well, 2 of the declination lines, which tells the change in elevation over a period of time, they were pretty close together. And I'm thinking, but it's 40 feet. Is that 40 feet gradual talus like this, or am I going to be cliffed out? And the answer is we don't know. So you don't know that. You have to kind of take that in consideration.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Also, if there's green on the map, I don't care. Yeah, there you go. Vegetation. So Dan can speak to this.
This is a trip that I took out of Red Mountain Basin, going back to, oh my goodness, I remembered, we talked about this the other day. Florence Lake is the name of the lake. I forgot it and I just remembered it back again.
Oh, well done.
It's returning to Florence Lake, and you can see there is a bit of a trail there. And this one, I mentioned it to the guy in the store, and he says, "Oh, that's interesting. No one's ever found that." Like, oh, the 7.5 topo shows it as a dotted line.
It's a trail.
And well, this was as much as you ever got, and then you come to a series of blowdowns, and then you'd have to circle around it, and you'd lose the trail again. So this is essentially an unmaintained trail, and I'm expecting some of this on my trip I'm taking next week. So.
Somebody just pinged in, do we look on Google Earth? I do. I know for sure Yosina does. I don't dial deep into it. I use Google Earth mostly to see vegetation, because vegetation is its own challenge. We can get up and over boulders or rocks or things like that, but if the vegetation is too thick, you're not going to get through it. So I check the vegetation.
Yeah, and blowdowns, and knowing the area is important, like Dan was saying with the blowdowns. When you've got areas that have been hit by fire, maybe 7 or 8 years ago, and they're coming back and those trees are unstable, they can be all over the trail. And so, I think that's one thing we want to also talk about a little bit, is that off-country travel can cause, there's all these considerations you need to take into, but you need to also take into consideration allowing for some extra time to do those things. When you're going over these boulders, or you're going through this, these blown down trees, it just adds time to the entire trip.
It does. So for example, the trip that you put together, it looked to one of our participants is used to just regular trails, and she's kind of going like, why is the mileage so low? And it took us all day. So
yeah. And on that Lamarck Cole and Darwin Bench, when we did that one, there was one person in our group, when we were going over those car-sized boulders up and down, his knee started giving him trouble.
Yeah.
So that really changed our group dynamic there. So that's another consideration on your group speed.
Okay.
And Kit, you kind of mentioned this a little bit when we were talking a couple minutes ago about when you're looking at a map, and you're looking at the lines, the contour lines, and you're kind of seeing that they're getting closer together and they're shading. But if you're and for us, that certainly is a clue as to cliffs and some really steep areas. And so again, that really harps on the fact that your navigation skills do need to be on par, because something like this may look super easy to get up and flat, and then you get to this reality where you're up in some of these boulders and these cliffs, and you get stuck, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. In fact, you think, why don't you go to Iridescent Lake up to the right? Because it's obviously a shallower, but there's absolutely no place to camp around it. So another consideration is, we go to Sky Blue Lake. It's some of my best pictures. It's on my best slides and presentations. And as you can see around Sky Blue Lake, once you get up to it, there are wide places out there around the lake where you might be able to find a campsite. And that's another consideration. Where are we going to camp? In this particular instance, to get up to Sky Blue, for between 11,250 and 200. Anyway, that last dark line of elevation declination, it is extremely steep, and so there's kind of only one way up there, and sometimes you just have to figure it out.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, since we are about at the halfway point, so this is a good reminder. If you have questions that you want to throw out, put them in the Q&A, and we'll catch them at the end. And if there's something that's really pressing, I'll interrupt them and throw them in there.
Okay, no declination and elevation. Fine, fine. I figured somebody was going to call me on that one. There is no declination and elevation.
It is magnetic declination.
That's all right.
But you're still doing good under pressure, Kit. So.
Like I had mentioned before, Kit's really familiar with a lot of the areas because she's been out there. And so when she describes a trip to me, she'll be like, okay, so we got to go up from, say Lower Soldier Lake, and we're going to get to Upper Soldier Lake. And we have to go to the left of the lake and up this steep hill. And then we got to get to 11,200 feet. And then we got to kind of go along this ledge and look for these trees. I was like, what are you talking about?
Okay, I do want to point out there were no trees. There were hardly any trees.
Yeah, there's these trees. There's these trees. We have to look for the trees. And so she's got, of course, all this imagery in her head, and she's done these trips. I'm looking at maps and trying to figure things out. And so we get out there and we're climbing, and we're checking our elevation, and okay, we're 11,200. Okay, now we can skirt the ledge. And again, that was because if we were below it, we were going to cliff out, which means you're getting caught on a cliff and you can't go any further, right? So that means you have to backtrack. I think we wanted to mention this. If you don't ever get into a situation where you can't backtrack and you're going to get stuck on a cliff, always make sure that you can travel back and forth. So we get to the 11-2 and we go to these ledge, and of course there were these trees.
Those dead trees on the left. Yep.
Yeah. And thank God. Yeah, thank God they hadn't fallen down, because we wouldn't have hit the waypoint. So for Kit, natural resources, rocks, boulders, trees are her waypoints. Again, for me, I got to the trees and I went right into my my app and I hit a waypoint. So that now if I go back into that area, I know that this is the point I need to get to before I skirt, just in case the trees disappear.
Just so you guys will know, the bottom left picture is the Lower Soldier Lake that we climbed up out of to the right. You can see it's, the lower right end has got like a little tree gully. And then we had to continue to skirt along the top of this until we reached 11,200. That was the only place where there was a ramp system going around the Major General, which is an enormous face. It's an enormous escarpment.
So you're doing waypoints two different ways. You're using a waypoint as essentially as a landmark, a major landmark, and as a digital waypoint.
Record.
Yep.
That's a reference point, right? That's kind of what ultimately what a waypoint is.
Right.
Nice.
Either to look towards or to remember from.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So another one is, and then also that goes in the one, the upper right is we are in Upper Soldier Lake, and we're going to go ahead and head out, and we need to, this is really much higher and steeper than it looks. We're going to climb about 1,800 feet straight, kind of ahead of where you see Yosina, and we're going to try and find our way to Old Army Pass. And so that's easy to get up and out, but here's another thing. As you are setting up someplace, if you want to try and get, you're going up and over, all drainages look alike. So it's just kind of like in the back of your head. So quite a few times I've been up on the top of this ridge line, which is the Langley, kind of ridge line there. And there have been people that have been trying to get to where we are, the Soldier Lakes, and they've gone down one ridge line too early because that's where it looks like it is on the map, and it really is deceiving. So again, being able to translate what you see to what your map is saying or where your waypoints are is really important.
So it sounds like if you misinterpret something, it'd be easy to get yourself into some trouble, right?
Yeah, it is.
So are there any safeguards on keeping yourself out of trouble? Look at that. It's almost like I knew what the next slide was.
Always have a back door.
Always have an exit. Always have a way out. So on this trip, we were a little early in the season. There was still a lot of snow up on Old Army Pass. We couldn't get down at all. New Army Pass had this huge cornice that we were aware of. And we were hoping that we would be able to get down, but we knew that if we couldn't, we could hit this other trail and backtrack and then kind of scoot on over and then come back again through Cottonwood Pass. So we knew that was going to add 5 miles or so to our trip. But we had an exit plan. There was a way for us to get out if conditions just were not passable. And there was no way we were going to go over this. This was, the sun cups and the cornice and the ice. I mean, you could if you had the proper gear, but we certainly did not. And we were fortunate that we had gotten some intel from some people who had gone up in Langley, and they said, "Oh yeah, there's a way there. There's a way." And then we got there, and we're like, "We don't see a way. Where is there a way? We have
This is a terrible way.
Where is there a way?" And just when we were about to make the decision to go the back door, we had a guy who had come up on his way down.
And we end up passing packs, just traversing some really sketch stuff, kind of going down the Bergstrom between the rocks and the snow. It was a full value. It was great.
So Kit, so just so everybody knows, Kit, you have an extensive climbing background, and I'm sure I got to imagine looking at a route from the other direction can be everything, right? If all you can see is the down climb, you couldn't see what the route was up, though they may be different. That would really help that guy knowing how he went up.
Yes, it really, really would. And we were very fortunate. He'd already come up, so he gave us the intel.
Yeah.
You won't cliff out here, because we were sliding down something that I wasn't sure we could get back up.
Mm-hmm.
And if he hadn't have been there, we would never have tried that.
No.
And it turns out you just needed to get around something sketchy, and then we could go.
Mm-hmm.
But I would not have done it if he had not gone down with us. Another thing that I do want to mention is, because difficulty is foreshortened. All of a sudden you get there and you think you can always do a 12 to 16 mile day, and here you're making a 7-mile day and it's killing you. So don't time the thing too tight. Give yourself a leeway, at least a half a day, so that if the trip doesn't go as well as you think it's going to, you're still going to be able to make it out safely.
Okay.
Yeah. But you get to see some incredible places, off the beaten path, few people, if any. I mean, to get off the trail and to get into the backcountry is a treat. It's definitely a treat.
Oh, my heart.
Yeah, it's amazing. It really is amazing. I would say just make, like Kit was saying, you got to give yourself extra time. You got to build that into your trip somehow. An extra half day at least, if not a full day, just to account for some of these situations you may find yourself in. I would say if you want to start doing some backcountry travel, start easy.
Start small.
Yeah, go and go on a trail and get a camp spot. And then maybe the next day go on a day hike that's off trail.
There we go. Yeah.
And then go explore that way, so that you start to familiarize yourself with just some of the terrain and the ideas.
Yeah.
And then always have an exit plan. Always know how to get out if you can't make it through the off trail.
Yeah.
That's a good point I like the day hike idea, because I do, as I mentioned earlier, I do a lot of off-trail travel on my day hikes locally, and I might go out to explore an area and there's a trail here and a trail there. I want to see if I can connect the two, for example, and turn it into a route, which is kind of one of the big benefits of any off-trail travel.
Yes.
But what's happened is when I'll go out and do that, there are times where it didn't go through, and 30 minutes later, I'm back in the truck.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, that was a bust, but it was no. Or there's other times where I'm intending to be an hour, and 6 hours later, I'm like, oh my God, what just hit me? So it's so variable, but to have lots of leeway, when I was back in the truck in an hour, that's way better than, it's 4 hours past sunset and, people were expecting me for dinner.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely. And like initially, and then this trip that we're doing, I got it because it's something I've done before. And I actually climbed Mount Conness, which is a technical climb, although it can be done as a class 4 scramble. But from the top of this, I had seen a possibility. So that was actually an offshoot of something I'd already done. And most of my best stuff is done from that, my happiest stuff.
Yeah.
Because I already know I love the area. I'm just doing more of it.
Yeah. So I think if you can ease yourself into off-trail travel, you can just open the doors to lots of other trips. I think I've looked at, since I'm kind of like Yosina, I'm a very digital map person, and when I discovered Caltopo and online maps, I'm like, this is just amazing, right? My world just doubled, and my breaks it from work grew exponentially, right? Because you could jump in. But I'll see a trail, like I want to put together a 50-mile loop, okay, for a coming season. Well, there isn't 50 mile of trail here, but if I could get over that ridge, what does that look like? And then do some research. And the one book that we didn't mention on how you find them out.
Yeah. Secor.
Secor, right.
Yeah. Fantastic. Here, I think I have it.
Do you? Okay, it's behind me.
What we talked about earlier about that, though, is he often gives there's the High Sierra, and then there's, what's the other one? Peaks and...
Yep.
Peaks, passes.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
yep.
But
he just gives you like a large thing to go for. You're going to go from this drainage up to that saddle. You're going to head northeast and take the left couloir up to the top of the peak.
Yeah.
Done.
That's your route.
Right. But so that's assuming, that's making some assumptions that you know how to do this. And Dave has a good point. Yosina, would you give us his full name?
Yeah, R.J. Secor.
S-E-C-O-R?
S-E-C-O-R, R.J. Secor.
There we go. Beautiful.
And in fact, for a lot of if you want to climb the California 14ers and you're not a technical rock climber, his routes are the best routes ever for getting up all of these things.
They're great.
My Bible. I love it. I spent a lot of time in his books.
Fantastic. Hey, so I'm hoping that we gave everybody a little bit of a taste on some possibilities. Find yourself a rock climber friend and a map nerd, and it'd be great to take along. So.
I love you, Yosina.
Or just call us.
Just call us.
I'll put your number on the internet.
Yeah, that's right.
For a good time.
Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you both for coming on and sharing what you know. It's great having you on.
Thank you so much.
Next week, I'm going to be in the Sierra. I'm going to be taking a week-long trip, and I'm excited about that. So I'll have something to talk about when I come back. But while I'm out, I have a YouTube recording that is going to release on Wednesday. So you can watch it Wednesday. It'll be relatively short, just kind of talking about our group's process of what we considered on whether we should go on the trip or not, right? And there's people all over the spectrum on, like, what's a mask and why the hell would you bother? Why do you even talk about why would you not just go? And there's other people who are like, are you kidding me? I'm not leaving my house until there's a vaccine. And there are people all over the spectrum. Yeah. Anyway, I have a short video talking about that one. So then the following week I'll be back live again. So again, thank you both for joining us. We appreciate you.
Thanks, Dan.
Okay,
Thanks,
we'll see
Dan.
you all soon. Take care now.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.